The front straps are 4.5 down.
From what?
For the strap.
But from where? Where?
Oh, from the.
So from neck, 4.5 down.
4 3/4.
4 3/4 down, and then where?
4.5 across.
So, but it's just outside the
Yeah.
princess line, right? Okay, so there's that point. Where else? What about the center front of the ruching?
6.5.
6.5? What about 6? How about we'll split the difference?
6 3/4.
Okay. Where else?
The strap on the shoulder.
So the straps are just following along here, right?
Yeah.
And then what?
The waist.
No, where is the waist? Is it tight?
I think it's on the waist.
It's on the waist, but is it tight? Half an inch each. Half inch each. Okay. What about the underarm?
3.5 inches down.
And there's a little bit of room there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to quickly get in. And if your measurements are a little bit different than this, that's fine. The dress is wiggly. Like, as you guys all touched it, stuff moves, stuff shifts. Okay? So we know that there's a waist seam that's on the waist. Okay, what about the triangle?
7.5 inches.
5. What do I really need to know about the triangle?
It's 5 inches.
Across at the waist?
Yeah.
How far away from the center would that
2.5.
be? 2.5. So from here to here. And then this is just a straight line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about the side? Is it a straight line?
No.
Why?
The ruching or the.
Yeah, the gathers, the ruching, we could call it gathers or we could call it ruching. That's another great word for it. But there's extra fullness happening, and so the side is kind of wrinkly, right? So we won't be using a ruler or a French curve for that. And we won't trace that wiggly line to the other side. We'll make a different, new wiggly line that's similar but different. Make sense? Okay. So from there, what do I need to know? That's kind of enough for the top. I haven't decorated it yet. There's a little connection between the strap and the bodice, right? Peplum. How long is the peplum?
6 inches.
6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's this level, right? And then what's this leading edge thing?
What? The marrow?
Is it straight? Is it? What's it doing?
It curves.
It's kind of curving in. So we're just going to use our eye to decide kind of how it curves in. Now this location, we're just going to kind of mark off a level. That's sort of the level of the peplum, because we're going to need to draw in the wiggly flares later. So we're just going to like roughly sketch in. Here's sort of the level of the peplum. Can we do the side of the peplum? Right? We want to know how far out it sticks out at that same level. Okay, and it's sort of maybe curving over her hip a little, but it's flaring out. You guys seeing that? So I'm not even measuring that. I'm kind of doing that by eye. Something like that. Okay? And then the skirt. So the peplum sticks out more than the skirt. So the skirt maybe might come out there. How long is it?
20.25.
So 10, 12, 14, 15, 16, 20, and a little bit. Okay. How would I figure out the shape of the hem? Would it be straight across? No, why?
Because of the thing in the
Yeah,
middle.
it's kind of a circle. It's a part of the circle, sort of a cone shape. So whatever the length is here, we have to kind of tip it up here. Is this all sounding familiar? Mm-hmm. So it's going to be sort of a gentle curve. And again, let's just kind of like just sketch that level in. We're not going to actually ink that level in. It's just a guideline for here's where the hem might be. Okay? something like that. Okay? What about this little guy? What's this called? Do you guys remember?
The
French word. Usually
godet.
a triangle. Godet. Okay? How tall is the godet?
Like 11.5 inches from the back.
Somewhere here. Okay? How do I draw the rest of it?
It goes out.
So when you guys measured, did you measure the width of it? Yeah? Did you measure the width while it's wrinkled, or did you pull it to measure the width?
While it was wrinkled.
While it's wrinkled. Perfect. Okay, so what's the width of it?
7.25 inches.
So we would need what? How much on one side?
3.5. A little. Yeah.
3.5 plus a little bit. And how far down?
8.75.
So 8.75 up. So maybe about there. You'll have a ruler. I have to do it by eye. Okay. So this would be a seam. Right. And then where does it go? Straight down?
Oh wait. No. I don't think it's how tall does he say then? 7.25. Yeah. I think I've got a random number.
Well, whatever that random number is. Okay. Does this go straight down?
Yeah.
Yeah?
No.
No, it kind of flares out. Did anybody measure, or are we just going to do that by eye? How far out? Who else measured last week? I saw a whole bunch of people looking at it measuring. What did you do? Did you do that by eye? Or did you measure? Like both would work. But if somebody has a measurement, let me know.
I got
9 across, so we would want like 4.5. So something like that. Okay, so this is where I think we left off last week. We sketched this out in pencil. We did talk about flares, right? What are flares built with?
Cones.
Cones, okay? And a cone, when we're drawing a cone, it's like a triangle. And if we're looking at it from the outside and it's bumping outward, we would see this. If we're looking at it kind of, if this were see-through, or if it's bumping inward, we would see this. So this is an outward bump. And this is an inward bump. Okay? So flares, when we're thinking about the skirt flares, or little ruffles or whatever, we're going to have a series of kind of incomplete cones, and some of them will be narrower and some of them will be wider. Okay? And then the fabric bumps out for each cone, and then inwards, and then outwards, and then inwards, and then outwards, and then inwards, and so on. Now, whenever I draw a row of ruffles or gathers, I always like to begin and end with a smile shape, so it's bumping outward. It gets awkward looking if you ended it like this. Like it doesn't make it look like the fabric is round. So as you're planning this, the little cones for the peplum and the cones for the skirt, we want to begin and end this way. Now, some of these cones aren't perfectly isolated and distinct. Sometimes when we're doing it, there might be some partial ones that just sort of kind of stop happening, okay? So there might be a time where we're doing this, and then we're doing this, and then we go, and maybe it doesn't crease all the way, and it's maybe making a little bit of an S curve. That's okay too. Okay, are you seeing this? How I don't have the other side of this cone because maybe it's relaxed a little bit. So kind of be thinking about the behavior of the fabric. And it's okay to have it be loosey-goosey, because this is not like, when I had this up last week, this is a very regular shape. It's a circular shape, and it was very balanced in the grain line. So we had fairly even cones happening. This dress, because she's differently shaped around her hip, and the fabric is kind of very limp and drapey, the cones are going to be very irregular. Okay, so once you've got this all pencil sketched in, it's time to start fleshing out the actual folds of the fabric. Okay, so we've got to be thinking about where these cones are radiating from. This is kind of a circle skirt, or at least part of a circle. If I lifted this, you could see it might be 3/4 of a circle going across, and it's falling down. Where would the center of the circle be? Like if I laid this out flat, where would it be? Yeah, it'd be like, if imagine this is a cone, there's sort of an imaginary point somewhere up here where the cone might complete. So all of these flares are going to be radiating from that spot up here, okay? So we're not going to have flares pointing this way. We want all the flares to kind of be angling up towards here somewhere. So it's going to be kind of like a lampshade, one of those little corrugated lampshades, where all of the flare lines are going to kind of fan out. Make sense? So I'm going to do the peplum one first, because I think it's a little bit easier for me. Now you're going to see there's a couple little cones on the side, and maybe it's a little bit flatter in the front. So I usually like to rough in, I'll just use another color for this. Okay. I usually like to kind of rough in where I think the cones might be. And notice how I'm sort of feathering off the line. And I want to try to make them all a little bit differently sized. So I usually start with the size of the cones, and then I figure out the wiggle of the fabric. Okay? So I know I always want to start with sort of a smile shape. Smile shape. Maybe just smile and go straight. What would be in between each of those cones? The little frown shape, the inward bump, right? But the inward bump isn't starting at this corner. We're going to jump up a little teeny bit before we do it. Okay? So did you see where my blue dotted line was? My outward bumps are kind of going below it. My inward bumps are kind of going above it. So I'm using that as a guideline so that the kind of trajectory of the whole thing is good. Okay? So as far as the skirt goes, we're going to have much larger cones